Hi, and welcome to Excel. One of the things I like to talk to you about, just to introduce Excel, is that it's an electronic spreadsheet. Spreadsheets comes from the term from accountants a long time ago. It used to be that you used to have pieces of large ledger paper that you worked on to do calculations, and each sheet. You might have a sheet for income and a sheet for expenses, and then you'd have a balance sheet, and then you'd have to calculate information from the income sheet to the balance sheet, and income from expenses sheet to the balance sheet, and so on and so forth. And if you made a mistake, you'd have to go back. Well, what's great about an electronic spreadsheet is that all the calculations that you make can be recalculated right away, but this worksheet is set up the exact same way. In other words, you can see sheets along the bottom, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. You'll also notice that the Excel workbook is um, named as such. It's a workbook. We have many sheets, and back when we talked about accounting, it used to be that you'd have all these sheets and you'd put them in the book and the accountant did the books. Well, the way we name Excel now is that it's named Book 1 or a workbook from that same genre, and so you'll notice that each one of your files will be named a workbook. Here, let's just kind of get a little bit of a navigation as to where everything is located. Up here at the top, this is called your Quick Access Toolbar, and it has shortcuts to the things that you use the most often. On yours, you should have Save, Undo, and Redo. I have one extra, a shortcut that I like to have for Print Preview. But if you click on this little down arrow here, you'll notice that you can add some tools that you would use pretty often to the Quick Access Toolbar. Or you could click on More Commands, and that would show even more commands on your Quick Access Toolbar. And then you can even do all commands and do that. Let's look at this. We've got tabs going across the top: File, Home, Insert, Page Layout. Now, this area up here is called the ribbon, and it has icons with tools located inside the ribbon. When we click on File takes us to what's called Backstage View. Backstage View has Save, Save As, Open, Close, Recent, New, Print, Save and Send, all the information that you need in the background. Home has the tools that you need the most often, that you'll be using all the time. Insert has all the tools that you use to insert anything into the worksheet. Page Layout has to do with how it would print out. Formulas has to do with how we're going to do formulas and do math programs here in Excel. The Data tab is going to be how we're going to do data, but then we're also going to be able to filter here. Review is how we can do spell check and thesaurus, but also how we can put comments into the worksheet. View is how we're actually looking at the sheet. And then we have a few that you may or may not have: developer and add-ins. I'm going to move back to home. One thing I'd like you to see, that if you double click on the home tab at the top, it actually folds in and you can't see it. If you want to see it, you click on it once and it'll fold down over the top. You can click again and it'll go away again. And if you'd like it back altogether, you double click and it comes back. Okay, so if that ever happens to you, you may not want that, but the ribbon does take up a lot of space on the screen, and if you want more screen space, you can double click on it to kind of get more space on the screen, and then double click on it to bring it back. Over here on the side is minimize, restore down or maximize, and close. And then we have a few buttons just for the window we're working on now. This is just for this file, so this closes the window that we're working on currently, but doesn't close Excel. So if I wanted to close this file alone, I could do that here. Then notice here, coming down, we have this box here. Your box might be a little bit smaller, but it's called the name box, and this tells us where we're currently located. So if I were to type in B11, see how my selection area moves to B11. If I click on H6, it now says H6. So the name box is going to be used in different ways, but currently it tells you where you are selected. And then the formula bar. The formula bar tells you what's inside a cell. So if I were to type my name into the cell and then click in the cell, you'll see Michelle. Once I have a formula, let's say I put in some numbers and I add those numbers up. Once I have a formula, you'll notice the formula will be in the formula bar and the answer will be in the cell. So that's why it's named the formula bar. Whatever is in the cell currently will be in the formula bar, but once there's a formula, the formula will be in the formula bar and the answer will be in the cell. As we come down, you'll see that we have columns, and each column is represented by a letter. These columns go out to, let's see, we've got 16,384 columns on each sheet, and then each row is represented by a number, and we have currently 1,048,576 rows in this worksheet alone. You notice at the bottom we have sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. They all have that amount of space, and we have an unlimited amount of sheets, just depending on the amount of RAM that you have currently, so, and the space in this workbook. So we can have multiple sheets that large, so you can have a very large workspace on one sheet, or you can work off of many sheets. As we come down here, you'll notice that we've got this small bar. The small bar right over here to the right side, if you click on it and drag it down, hold down your mouse, it actually splits the screen into two windows, so you can move the top or move the bottom separately. To get rid of it, you double click and that ends the split screen, and you'll notice that you have your bars for moving in the window, top to bottom, left to right. Down here at the bottom here, this is called the zoom area. This makes the information larger and smaller so that you could see more or less of your window. You also have your view. Right now we're in normal view. We have page layout view. Page layout view will let you see what it's going to look like if we needed to print it. And then page break preview, once we need to put in a page break, we'll be able to do that in this part. I'm moving back to normal view, coming down here. Now once we have information here, you'll see this bar at the bottom is called the status bar. The status bar. So you'll notice different things on the status bar once you start selecting things. So right now it says ready. It also says no macros are recording, but then it's pretty blank until I've selected some information. Once I've selected some information, you'll notice a few things down here on the bar. One is average, one is count, and one is sum. It's an automatic adding and averaging here once you've selected things, and we'll talk more about this portion of it, but I did want you to understand that this was the status bar. Last sheet and first sheet. Okay, so that's about what I wanted to tell you regarding exploring the Excel window currently. Some other information in your chapter is moving between worksheets. So you're going to be able to move between worksheets by clicking at each individual sheet. You can also use your keyboard shortcuts to do that by using the control key, and then your page up and page down buttons on your keyboard. Also, if you want to go to a specific cell, you have several different things that you can do. On page EX9, it tells you all about using control and the home key, and to move home, control and N to move to the last sheet that you've been working on. Control and G will open up the go to box where you can put in a specific cell and then go to that cell. Also, if you click in the name box, you can go to a specific cell. So if you want to put in F6, That will take you to a specific cell. You can also go to a specific range of cells by typing in B2 colon D4, just to show you what that looks like, and hit enter, and that will select a range of cells. So that's another way of moving within your worksheet. Over on page EX10, you'll notice that you have all kinds of navigation commands that you can use on your keyboard to be able to move around in the screen. So just being able to do that. Also, you can use your arrow keys to scroll up and scroll down. But if you want to move screens, if you want to move entire screens, you can use the scroll bar here and scroll entire screens here like that, moving up and down. So go ahead and practice moving around using your keyboard. Now, if we want to close this worksheet without saving, let's say we've been working in it and we really don't want to save, we can do that right here. This will close this book without saving. So I'm going to go ahead and click Close for closing this workbook and say Don't Save. And then if I want to open up a brand new sheet again, I want to click on File and then click on New, and then all the way to the right here, because notice blank workbook is open, I'm going to click on Create. That's how I'm going to work if I want to open up a new workbook. Notice that it says Book 2 up here for the brand new name. Any work that I've been working on in here while I've been doing this is saved in the memory, but it's not saved in a file yet. So you have to make sure that you save often if you're going to be working and wanting to save your work for sure. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. I'll move on to exercise 1.7 in your book in the next video.